meeting to order for the Delaware Shade Tree Commission on October 22nd, 2019. Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Eddy? Mr. Carey?
Here.
Mr. Glissman? Ms. Martin?
Here.
Mr. Wolber?
Here.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Brewster?
Here.
Chairwoman Wright?
Here.
We've heard from Mr. Eddy. Have we heard from Mr. Glissman?
We did.
We did?
We did.
So-
I heard from him earlier today.
Well, yeah, motion to excuse, both Mr. Glissman and Mr. Eddy.
I'm happy to second that.
Roll call?
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Carey?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Wolber?
Yes.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Brewster?
Yes.
Chairwoman Wright?
Yes. First item on the agenda is the election of officers for the upcoming year. I guess we're sort of on a rolling year. I would like to open the nominations from the floor. Is this how I do it? And I would like to nominate Shannon Brewster to be chairperson.
Second.
Do I need to accept it?
No, we just vote.
You can decline, I suppose.
Roll call, please.
Are there any other nominations?
Oh, true. Are there any other nominations? Roll call.
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Carey?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Wolber?
Yes.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Yes.
Ms. Brewster?
Okay, I'm in, yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Very good.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Okay.
Fun day.
Should I go on, or
No,
does she?
We'll
I
go
would
ahead
like
and-
to, oh, do you want to do vice?
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and
Yeah,
do
I
a
would,
vice chair.
I'd be happy to nominate, what do I say? Current chairwoman Wright for vice chair.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And
Call the roll. Any other nominations?
Anybody else want to tackle it?
All right, I'm gonna call the roll then. Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Carey?
yes.
Ms. Martin? Mr. Wolber?
Yes.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Brewster?
Yes. Does this take, is this
Dum,
effective
dum,
immediately?
dum.
Yep.
Yes, you'll start.
Yep.
voting
Oh,
now.
that's
Okay.
great, that's great.
Whoa.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate
In the
your
hot
support.
chair, yeah.
And
Thank
that's really
you.
wonderful.
Yeah. I've done it I think 2 years, so it's time to pass the love around.
So that's it, huh? Now we go on to the approval of the no, now we go on to the next thing on the
Yep,
agenda?
yep.
Yay. All right, I'm a natural. So, did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes
Yes.
that were sent out? Does anybody have any changes that they saw?
I move that the motion summary for the meeting of August 27th, 2019 be approved.
Second.
Mary?
Can I call the roll?
Oh, yeah, roll call, please.
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Carey?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Wolber?
Yes.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Wright?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Brewster?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, public comment time, and I don't see any members of the public that might have comments. So, do we need to officially pass it, or can we move on to the arborist report?
Mhm.
All right,
We'll
well,
move on.
let's move on. Hi Doug, good evening.
Good evening. You can see from the numbers on the chart that was submitted, pruning is staying about the same, maybe down a little bit. Tree removals going up a little bit with the contractor side as we're addressing some larger trees. we had 49 service requests, which is about half of what we had the last 2 months. So, of which we have also solved about 52 service requests during the same period. Some were carryover service requests. So I really don't have a lot to report. We're getting ready to plant trees. The next couple weeks, we have 100 trees, replacement street trees that will be planted in various locations across the city. We have a contractor that's going to plant 70 of the trees, and we're going to plant 30 of the trees in-house.
Can I ask you a question, Doug?
Absolutely.
I'm just curious, how many people were? I mean, I don't know what size crew you have. I'm just curious.
I'm sorry.
What size crew do you have? I have no idea.
It varies from day to day. Sometimes it's myself, and sometimes I have the whole park staff to help me. So
Cool.
it just depends on what we
On what
have
you
and what
need.
we need to do. Yep.
I haven't heard you talk about the cemetery in the last few months. Is there anything to report about that? Or?
Not really. It's
Okay.
still there.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
I sort of thought that. I didn't know. I know.
We did lose a large white oak in the middle of it.
Wow.
It died. We're in the process. Thursday it'll be coming down the rest of the way. And the 2 trees at the back entrance way, the 2 maple trees back there have pretty much had it. So those
Yeah.
will be coming down. One has already come down. The other's coming down Thursday also.
I know the first couple years it was your responsibility. There was a lot of work to be done. You feel you're at sort of an equilibrium point now, just taking care of things as they happen?
Yeah, our cemetery manager, John DeLong, he keeps pretty much up on anything down there. If a tree comes down or tree issues, he'll take care of them. He lets me know about them, but he'll take care of any issues that arise down there.
Is there a time, or I don't know if it's anything that's planned, but you know that whole back area that backs up to Liberty?
They're just getting ready to start developing all of
Okay,
that.
I mean, will that be more, the older part in the front's like all, huge, old wooded area, and that's like blazing field back there.
It will have trees planted in it. It won't be shagbark and hickories. It won't be shagbark, hickories, and oak trees, but
Yeah,
we'll probably plant some oak in there. But we're going to try to keep it so we don't have the cost that we have now that we have when we remove those trees. That's quite costly, so that we have to take down. So
No, so small or
smaller, yeah, they're going to stay relatively small. They are just getting ready to start the expansion. They're working on the plans now. So
Okay.
Yeah, I actually had a similar question, maybe the same question. I've recently looked at the cemetery master plan. And there are various initiatives, that are part of it. Trees, however, are not mentioned anywhere, if I recall. So I'm wondering, was our arborist consulted about expansion plans, or will that be part of a later phase?
it'll be part of a later phase. I was asked about it, but right now they want to develop where the roads are going and the plots are going to be, and then the trees will be kind of, I don't want to call it an afterthought, but it'll be, once that's set, then we'll see where we can put the trees in that makes sense. Right now, it's in such a young stage of being developed that, it doesn't really, it's hard to tell where we're going to put things at this point in time. There may be a barn going up in a new shed building going in the back. It may, there's going to be multiple new roads throughout that whole area. So there's going to be a mound across the back, possibly at Liberty Road. So I don't know exactly what's going in there.
Okay. Well, according to the plan that I've seen, just informational, part of the expansion plan near Liberty Road is also a pond. They are planning on putting in a small little pond there. And it would be nice to have, you know, trees, you know, in that area eventually.
I'm sure there will be.
Are they planning an entrance off of Liberty Road or not? They are planning?
There is one now, but they are planning on expanding that as well.
Okay, I knew there was like a driveway. I didn't know if it's a public, if the public could turn in there. I couldn't remember.
I drive
You
through
s-
there all the time,
Okay.
just to, it's a nice.
It is
drive.
open during the day, yes,
Okay.
but, you know, oftentimes they're closed.
So how old do you think the oaks and hickories are that you had to take down?
I'm sorry.
The oaks and hickories that you had to remove that were so big, I mean, how old do you think they were?
Probably the oaks are probably pushing 150, 200 years.
Okay. Alright. Not as old as I thought. Anyway. You get where I'm going with that, right?
No, not really.
No, not really. So the longevity of the
The
tree and
mind
the
of
size
Dave is
relative to the cost. So you have a tree that's maintenance free for 150 years. Okay, you got to spend $500 to take it down, versus a tree that you have to take down and replace after 50 years. You might want to consider that equation when you're deciding when to plant. You know what I mean? And maybe having a mix of things that are going to get bigger and stay big longer than something like a red maple that's going to time out at 50 years.
Well,
And you have
anything
to start over,
that we
so-
do decide on will come before the Shade Commission, at Shade Tree Commission anyway, for them to, for you to put your input in on.
Okay, all right. I just thought
You
I'd
will not be left out of the decision
plant that
on
seed,
that.
so to speak.
It's a good seed.
We're all about planting seeds.
Yeah, especially, you know, you got a place where city streets, we really are hard pressed to put in big trees there just because they don't fit. But a cemetery,
All
maybe
the
they could
space
fit,
in the world
you know?
over
So, anyway. Oh, I had a question for you too, Doug. Where are we getting our trees nowadays for city street trees?
We're getting from Acorn Farms,
Okay,
local source.
okay.
I don't know anything about it.
I know that Acorn is local because they're in Westerville, but is their seed, is their rootstock local that we're getting?
Hey.
What? It's a, listen,
Acorn's part of Oak Nation.
I know.
I mean, I can't, I don't work there.
I know.
But, I mean, I know a lot of it comes from Schmidt in Oregon, and it gets shipped bare root. But that's container stuff. I've seen container stuff being, you know, cause that you can, they do it like a 6-month turnaround, you know, it gets rooted in, it's sold, it's like a constant, you know, replanting,
Right.
whatever. The field stuff though, cause the field production's out in Knox and Zanesville, so I've never, I mean, I haven't ever even, I know it exists, I haven't seen
well,
it.
I just
know
wonder,
it.
cause I just,
I would
you know,
think they're
keep it
buying
north of
like root, I mean, a
Zone
liner stock
5,
though.
6. Mhm.
Because, just to shorten the, you know, like it's obviously, no one's out there like planting individual acorns.
Right, and I
Because
know
it,
that
you
they
know,
bring-
they're trying to cut the turnaround time to get it to size to
Sure.
sell it. So I would think that they're buying like a, you know, a 15 or a 1-inch, taking it to a 3-inch or something like that, I believe. But
I like-
I can't swear to the field production stuff. I've only seen the container production.
Okay. Who's our liaison there? Is that
I deal with Lou Lord.
Lou? Okay. All right. I'm just curious. I used to buy a lot of large bulk plant material, and I know some of them come from a little south of Zone 5, and it just makes me think, you know,
What, trees?
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
I can't think of any, I mean, maybe it's stuff that we don't get in then, maybe it's like, but like, so they're selling to, you know, they're not just selling to Ohio.
Right.
Like, so they're shipping
Right.
to Kentucky and whatever, and even like the difference between here and, you know, being planted in downtown Columbus, they're always like 3 degrees, you know, warmer
Sure.
than, you know, it's insulated differently there too. So, I can't really think of, I mean, what we're getting in retail wise, that's,
Yeah.
at least tree wise, that's not
It just makes me
Zone
think. I
5.
used to buy a lot of big trees, and I worked a lot with Lou, and I would ask him where the rootstock came from, because I didn't want
What'd
anything
he
from
say?
Tennessee or, well, this was almost 20 years ago.
It was
so-
probably,
Huh?
it's probably similar. I don't know how much it's changed.
Yeah. But there was just, maybe it's worth doing
But so once the rootstock comes in though, it would be in Ohio, so it fills in and then it gets redug. I mean, if it's a field tree, it would be adapted to,
It's
I mean,
going B&B or something.
right,
Yeah.
it would be in bald clay.
Right, yeah, I think that does make a big difference,
Sure.
having acclimated already before it's planted like
Mhm.
that. Now, the overstock are all, for cultivars, I mean, they're developed wherever they are.
Sure.
And some things are more plastic than others. And that's why some things do well here, some things don't. Part of that might be part of the reason.
Yeah.
One thing that we are doing now that, this year we are all container. Everything is containerized. All 20 and 25 gallon container trees. So we're not gonna do any B&B.
And is that the first time we're doing all? Because I remember
We've had to in the past do a mix just because of the varieties and species of trees. We couldn't get them in container, but I would prefer to do all container. It's not only, I think, beneficial for the tree that we're planting because it's not being shocked right away by having its root systems cut and bald and then sit in a yard for 6 months and they ship it out. And then also it kind of goes back to what your discussion is now. That plant's been grown here for the most part. It's being grown and in Ohio temperatures and Ohio soil, and well, not Ohio soil, but you know where I'm getting
in a
at.
potty
but-
mix.
And honestly, we just don't see the dieback. We just don't see the death in the trees. Our mortality rate is way down.
And that's what I'm questioning, because obviously I know you're monitoring it because this is your list of what's dying and what's living and what you've got going on, but I guess I'm curious how we can keep an eye on whether the container trees are gonna do better than the B&B trees. I'm curious.
I've just from what I guess I haven't officially wrote it down, but I can tell you the oak trees,
Mhm.
container oaks survive.
Nice.
B&B oaks die.
Mm.
It's just the
Yeah.
way it is. We don't even try to plant a B&B oak in the fall anymore just because, again, they've sat in the nurseries or
Mhm.
they get dug and then they don't have time to acclimate enough before winter sets in, or it's just, the container's just, I think, the way to go. Now, other communities are doing, bare root plantings, and, I don't know about that, and I mean, I know about it, but I don't see how that is feasible on the scale that we do our plantings. so.
Right. Okay. Well, you'll have to keep us updated on what you're seeing, because I'm curious. Thanks.
That's all I have.
I have one other question for Doug, if I may.
Please.
Okay. You started out by saying we are going to plant 100 replacement trees. We also have, of course, many new developments, west and east and southeast, etc. Are we also planting new trees in addition to the replacement trees, or are they mostly the developer's responsibility? I'm not sure. Refresh my memory how that is being shared. Or
The developers are
divided.
required to plant trees in their developments
Right.
along the
Mhm.
streets. When we look at the tree plans, those are the trees that are being planted by the developer. They're required to carry a 2-year warranty on that tree. Within those 2 years, if that tree dies, they replace it at no cost to the city. And that tree is warranted forever for 2 years. So if it dies every 2 years, then they keep replacing it. We try to, if it's an oak tree and they've replaced it twice, we'll switch to a different species. We'll try it to see if that would make more sense to switch to something else. However, so that's what they're doing in those areas. After 2 years, then the city, after a tree dies 2 years old, then we replace it ourselves. we have a few of those this time that we'll be replacing.
Well, I understand that, yes. But my question was basically approach it from a different angle. So as far as new developments is concerned, like Springer Woods and Lerner Woods and Heatherton and all these places, are those trees along public streets? Are they still 100% the developer's responsibility for the first 2 years?
The first
Or
2
is the
years.
city also planting some street trees
The city's
in
not,
new development?
the city's not planting any new trees in the developments.
All right, that was my question. So 100% the developer's
Yes.
responsibility. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. That was my question, yes.
Ready to move on to staff comments? Do we need to take a roll call for that?
No.
Okay. I think you're the only staff here, right? Doug, you've got comments?
I do,
for
I
somebody?
have a few things
Good.
for a
All
change.
right. Oh.
Everybody, I included in your packet, and Elaine sent it all out to you, about volcano mulching.
Mhm.
I'm not sure where we stand on the filming of this and all of that, but I wanted to make sure that we got something out there. So this came from the International Society of Arboriculture. It pretty much has the pictures, and there are people who have trees that look like the first picture.
A lot.
Elena, you're bringing that up.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I'm trying, yeah. It's not coming up for some reason.
And then in the
It's part of the agenda packet. So if you scroll down.
Okay.
Give me a second.
no problem.
While she's doing that, we had decided, we can't get it, they
Have
are
you seen
too
that film?
busy, the city's
Yes,
too busy
I've
to
seen
film
it.
for us. So we had decided that we were gonna do what? We were gonna put this on our website?
I thought, we were going to try to get it in the city's newsletter that
newsletter,
comes out
right.
quarterly. That was my understanding, but we didn't ever make a decision. You followed up from the last
Right.
meeting with what we couldn't do, which was, they don't have time to
Right.
do the separate little
filming.
video.
Well, I think I was talking with Stacy today a little bit, and I think what we'll do is we'll film it ourselves. We won't rely on, they're busy. They don't have time to help
Right.
us with it. So, I would suggest that we work on this and get this so that it's out in the springtime. I don't see a point in putting it out right now. No, there's very little mulching going on out there right now. Not
Would
saying
it be
some people
okay
don't.
to have this as, well, we don't necessarily, we could distribute it electronically in different ways though, potentially,
Yeah.
if.
I think if we made the video and it went on the website, that would be great. I think even this going out in, maybe we could get this sent out with the utility bills or something like that. If everybody thinks that this is okay, that's the other thing for
Yeah.
you to decide. Maybe there's something better out there or not, but, I just pulled this up quickly. Tree on the left, there's people mulch their trees like that. They think that's the way it goes. That's the way it's supposed to look. There's a foot of mulch on the tree. The tree in the middle, I'd say, is probably about 75% of the trees in Delaware. That's how they look.
Do you want me to blow that up for you?
Do it.
It's
Go
up to
for
you.
it.
A little harder, yeah, trying to get the full page on there, but.
Now, the picture on the right, I'm not going to argue with the International Society of Arboriculture because they know probably a lot more than I do, but I wouldn't plant a tree like that,
With that much.
with
root
that
showing.
much root showing up on it.
Yeah.
But it would be at the crown of it, and it would be an inch above grade. That's where we plant our trees, and that's where we will, that's the standard. So I think the idea is to get not only anyone who plants a tree in Delaware, but the contractors for the developers and such to plant trees in the city streets that way. Not only that, but people in their own yards plant the trees correctly. And when you go to mulch your yard, please don't pile the mulch on year after year after year. I think that if homeowners knew that they didn't have to mulch that much, they probably would be pretty happy. They wouldn't have to spend extra money on mulch.
So do you think it's okay to put this out with this picture that none of us seem to agree is?
So you mean maybe alter it? The first two pictures I did.
The first two pictures are great, but this one
Yeah.
I'm a little uncomfortable with.
Well, and I think too, because the first two pictures are showing what we see when we're walking around seeing trees, and that one really shows a really wonky angle, and we always plant them a little bit high. I mean, the angle's just not consistent with the first two. And then, I don't know anyone who's gonna hear that's kind of that much root flare hanging out.
I don't think it's obscene, the amount of flare. It's not like,
But
Well,
there's
that's in the
gonna
eye
be
of the
somebody who's
beholder.
gonna take it to an extreme, you know that, when they go to plant their tree and they're gonna go, well, that's what it showed in the picture.
Yeah.
well, I mean, most of the time, like, I mean, you wouldn't have, I mean, most of the time the plant is gonna come potted how it's like, you're not gonna be
You're
able
not
to.
even gonna see most of that root
Right, you're
flare.
not gonna be able
Right.
to make more root, I mean, unless you're digging it out of the,
Well, that's
you know.
what my concern is.
I
that
mean,
somebody
it's
will
gonna
think that it
be,
needs
the
to
amount
look
of root
like this.
flare is gonna be whatever it is in the container or the,
The
you know,
information's great,
whatever.
that's the only thing I have a problem with.
So did you take this, like, this flyer was already provided, or did you
This
take?
came straight from
Okay.
the International Society of Agriculture.
Or
I-
maybe-
Right.
maybe we should.
And I assume they would have no
I-
trouble with us distributing it.
Probably not.
Okay.
I think that it can be improved upon, and I
So do
know
I.
that I'm a little bit picky, cause I sort of do this a lot, but I always think you should tell the person, this is the correct way to do it first, before you hit them with the wrong way to do it, and this seems to come at it from a different way, you know, it's bad, volcano mulching is bad, which is our message, but I don't think it's a great way to relay that message, to start off with a negative. So that, I mean, if everybody thinks this is great and wants to send it out as is, but I'd like a month to play with it and just take it and put it back together.
Does the
I'm with you, Susan.
Nurserymen's Association have anything, do you know?
I'm sure there is, I haven't.
He's good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well-
agree with Susan. There's a right way and a wrong way. I think all we need is two pictures instead of three. This is like almost too much, too complicated, informational overload. You know, this is the right way and this is the wrong way. That's all people probably need to know, right?
I
No?
think we could come up with a few ideas that we could present to our group. and-
Well, I think that
Okay.
my concern is if you have, the reason I think that they put it together this way is just from field experience in arborists going
Yeah.
out and talking to people. Because you can have the picture on the right being, okay, you can see some of the root flare, although maybe a little too much ankle here, I don't know is what our perspective is. But then you've got volcano mulching, the one on the left is the wrong one. Everybody's gonna come to the middle and say, okay, well, this is about right.
This must be about right.
Yeah.
And then the point here is, well, this isn't quite right either. So I think it's probably good. I see value in presenting it the way that it's presented. Whether you flip the order and emphasize the correct first, I mean,
Yeah.
all of that's fine with me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing. I'm not as picky as you are on that kind of thing, but I mean, I certainly respect that. Your experience on that, I'll certainly go with that.
I mean, I'm happy to play around with like the layout and stuff. And try to find some better, I don't know, pictures. Or, I mean, do you do graphic, I mean, are you?
I'm not a graphic person, but I supervise graphic people, so, I mean, if you wanna do it, fine. Probably, if this is in a PDF form, you might have a hard time extracting the pictures, you might
Oh, I
actually
wouldn't
have to-
use these pictures probably,
Okay.
like
Okay.
Google us and stuff.
You
Yeah.
could just
I mean,
walk
yeah,
around
yeah.
town with your
Right,
camera.
right.
But,
I mean, you could just, right, go
So-
down House
so maybe
Road.
we'll work on who's gonna do what, but let me just ask a couple other questions. So I would also hate for us to say that this is the correct way to do it.
Yes.
If a homeowner walks outside and sees a tree that the city just planted and it's not done this way, so I think we need to
If
be
you
careful.
don't see the root flare.
Yeah, I would, if we're saying this is the way to do it and then we're not following our advice, that might be problematic. So maybe a local picture.
I can tell you, I've been called out to look at trees that look
Mhm.
like the one on the right, because people tell me the tree's coming out of the ground.
Oh,
So-
interesting, okay.
Okay.
So we should look for a picture where that shows where it's an inch above the,
Yeah.
I have another question for you, a strategic question, I suppose, that fits into all of this. Is it so, and I've seen trees that are like the tree on the left in my neighborhood and have been like that for a number of years. And I've also seen a little bit of the root girdling where you develop some new roots and they grow wonky. Once that happens, what do? I mean, how far down do you, say if you wanna unvolcano your tree, how far down do you take it? Do you
Yeah.
take it to where it was before and you show a lot of roots? Or do you take it down to where the new roots are and make that the new root flare? If you're gonna, maybe the damage is already done.
can you correct?
But if someone says, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was hurting the tree, and they go out to fix it.
Well,
What
it
does
would be,
fixed
it'd
look
be
like
an
in a
extreme
situation
case
like
with the
that?
girdling, if it was, you know,
Oh, well, I've seen new root, there's one tree that I know of where there's a new root coming out, and it's growing right next to the trunk, and it, over the 20 or 50 years or whatever that tree's gonna be there, it might be a problem. But anyway, so what does recovered look like, or what does unvolcanoed look like might be a
Like
functional
you're
question for
addressing-
folks who,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I did something wrong. Let's go fix it. What does fixed look like, I guess is something that
That's
might
a
be
good idea,
helpful
yeah.
to see.
Well, it's probably gonna be different on a, it's like a per case basis though, you know, if it's
Yeah,
been like
but-
that for 20 years, it's probably, you know, you're gonna start uncovering something very
Right.
different than something
Right.
planted last year too. I mean,
Sure.
you know, one's gonna be
Right.
an easy,
And so,
fix, and
so
so
maybe
it's-
we
it
don't
might
have
be
to
like
have a
a-
picture of that, but
well,
maybe
yeah,
a
'cause you're
little bit
probably not gonna be able to
a bit of
anticipate-
verbiage to address that, and whatever the suggestion or the guideline is for that
See.
kind of thing.
called a.
Video number 2. What do you do when you unvolcano
Mhm.
your
How do you
trees?
fix what's already broke?
Right.
It's valid though, you know, if you're saying this is how you should do it, how do you undo it, and what are you gonna, yeah, okay, I like it. Susan, did you have another thought?
No, other than, one other thing is I would, instead of, I mean, that particular website is fine, but do we want to put, if you have questions, call Doug Richmond? I mean, I don't wanna put you on the spot, but I mean, isn't it better for us to, like, keep some questions and the contact people local? Or how could we handle that?
I would say yes to that. That
Okay.
would- I mean, don't put my name on there, but put the city's
Okay,
contact
okay.
city's arborist.
Or, well, I think, doesn't everything go through the service request number?
Yeah.
Right, so that's what needs
That
to go on
number,
there,
yeah.
right? Or website, or however that works.
Other than that, does anyone have any problems with the actual, like, the wording or the information?
I do. I wanna just reword
Yeah.
some things, okay? And how about if I just deal with the text?
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
send
Yeah.
some revisions to you? Okay, I'll do that within 2 weeks, I promise. And then Melissa can produce the second draft. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, we're looking for, well, he said, so if we're gonna have it, can it be front and back? I mean, worst case scenario where you'd have to like, you know, have, cause it would be like tri-folded, wouldn't it, to go in an envelope? I mean,
I
if we
think
were mailing it.
I don't think it's gonna be a separate mailer.
It's
I
gonna
think
be
it'll
part of the
part of the
city's
actual
newsletter.
newsletter.
Oh.
But we can also, we may not be able to do a video, but we could ask for them to put the flyer up on like social media and stuff.
Right, right.
Or even, I think Ted does, something, Instagram or something for parks.
Yeah, he does a quarterly report that I think gets put out, doesn't he?
Well, Lee does a quarterly report, but I thought Ted did his own like parks Instagramming. And things
I think
like
he
that.
does.
So we can add things. We may not be able to do a video, but we could add to social media, a flyer and things like that.
Yeah, I know they post on Nextdoor, and sometimes folks pull things off of Nextdoor and put it on our neighborhood,
Now, if you wanted.
Facebook and stuff like that too, so.
Right, and if you wanted to do like a trifold one, it's something maybe you could pass out at one of your events, but.
Yeah.
Right, I guess I was thinking like, literally like a flyer or
Yeah, it wouldn't be-
insert or
it
something,
wouldn't
but you're
be
talking about like a
actual-
page that's just printed
It's part
within
of
the
the-
context of
Yeah, I
the
think-
rest of the,
I don't know if we have any leftovers over here.
I would think that we wanna keep it relatively simple and as much as possible to one page, even though simply because,
I'm thinking this.
yeah,
is
but if you
like-
get like good graphics that like, a picture's worth a lot, like, to have a good like half-page picture of
Yeah. that's
what it
I-
should look like, yeah.
So this is kind
Okay.
of what goes out, so I'm thinking it's probably gonna be.
Okay.
Kind of like that,
Right,
you know, so it's gonna
okay.
be
Does it show that that's the mulch?
But I mean, there could also be like
So
version
even
one, version, full-page version, handout version,
Yeah.
you know, that all has the same sort of thing, but with different formatting,
yeah.
where you condense
that-
it down to quarter page.
We should do something on the plan. Well, we talked about in the plan.
Is that something that we could sort of approve, well, not officially approve, but have something? Since we're not meeting again for a long time.
Yeah.
If you guys get a finished product that we could
We can
look at
send it around.
electronically.
Were we gonna have a, like a, not an emergency meeting, but you were talking about doing like a before Thanksgiving or so, or like a.
Well,
a-
if we don't meet in November, we never meet in December, so do we wanna wait until January? That was the question
Okay.
Yeah.
at the last meeting.
It's a long way. Is there much coming up, do you know, in terms of plans?
Not
be
that I know
approved?
of. I mean, not, they
If we
come in.
don't meet again until January, I mean, that's, of course, it's slower time of year for that too.
November. I have to pull up my calendar, I'm sorry, cause Thanksgiving's late this year, so I'm just trying to think.
It'd be the 19th, the third Tuesday.
But we meet the fourth Tuesday,
Oh,
Yeah.
which is the 26th, which is the week of
Of
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
yeah.
So that could be a travel nightmare for some people, I don't know, but,
I have it in my calendar as a maybe.
When's the Parks meeting? That-
Parks meets the third Tuesday.
Third, so they're a week
So
ahead of
they
us?
would be a week ahead.
What time do they meet?
Same
6:30?
time,
Do
6:30.
they hear?
Mhm.
Is there any appetite for coming in an hour before them and just deal with this, the next draft of the flyer?
And that's
Well,
up to you, if you can get
do
here at
we-
work.
I would think the only reason we would need to come in for the flyer is if we need to all be physically
Yeah.
present
It's true.
and have a motion to approve, yes, this is what we're gonna distribute.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I
We could
feel
do it by
comfortable
email.
doing it electronically.
And when is distribution? We wanna have it by spring?
I would think so.
Okay.
Do we wanna do a planting one at the same time? That we could follow up a few months later, you know,
Mhm.
if we did this.
I would prefer to have something out this fall, or this, while people are still doing stuff, but
For
I think we
planting.
may have missed that
Yeah,
opportunity,
yeah.
but.
I think we did, I
2
think we
days.
missed it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we could shoot to have it as well for spring. I mean, in my experience, most of the general public thinks you plant in the spring in Ohio, when I know the fall is better.
Well, if you'd like to film, we're going to be planting 100 trees in the next 2 weeks, so
Mhm.
Yeah.
raise your hands and volunteer.
Yeah, let me see what I can do. I have a guy. I'm gonna reach out to my guy, my film guy. See if he'll do me a favor. Doug, when are you gonna start planting your 30 trees in-house?
Probably not for, I'm gonna say not before next Wednesday, for sure. Maybe the following week.
Okay. None of us are videographers here, but, I'd be willing to follow you around a little bit, see if I can get some footage.
Okay.
You seem apprehensive.
All right. So are we at a conclusion with this for now? Okay.
Gonna do it
Yep.
on email?
We're gonna work on it via email, and I'm gonna play around with the words, and Melissa has volunteered to
Play
do
around with
the
the pictures.
look for new pictures.
Oh, good.
Well, also, should we incorporate like the city logo probably on, so it looks, you know,
Yeah, that might be
Nice.
nice,
I mean, so it looks like an official,
yeah.
Well, do
Sort
we
of
need
document.
approval from
I don't- I
Lee, I
mean-
would assume, to use the city logo for?
I'm guessing that before we distribute it, Lee will want to look at it,
Sure.
so. if we
Right,
put the lo-
anything distributed will go to Lee for final,
I mean, is that an issue? I would think you'd want like
Right,
a
but he'll-
city head or like,
we have the logos, we can try to figure out where to place them, but he would have to okay it before we use them.
okay.
Can we put on, Tree City USA or things of that nature?
As far as we are a Tree City USA? Absolutely,
I mean, we're 38 years, right?
yes.
I think it looks good to say that we know what we're talking about as a organization, as a community. Okay.
So what I've put in front of you is, this is one of Ted's little projects that he wants to do. We don't want to do a lot of trees, but we're going to do some certain, I don't want to call them heritage trees, but some specimen type trees that we can put these, either a sign that's going to be set up like this in front of them on hardboard or something, or there might be a wall in Mingo that has the picture with, but somehow getting it out to the public that this actually is a Crimson King maple that's down at Mingo. Kind of shows the value of the tree, what the tree does for us. The aesthetic value, this is all goes through the, I believe it's the Ohio State What a Tree's Worth program. The aesthetic value, actually, if this was in front of a home and not a park, it doesn't allow you to use it for a park. It doesn't give it a value, but if it was in front of a home, it would show a value there. So this is just, basically, he wants to take this side and shrink it down maybe a little bit more so that we can have a full picture of the tree on the right side of it. So this would be more like a placard that would be put in front of certain trees throughout the city.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's great.
I would hate to see you put an aesthetic value of 0. I understand what you're saying, but I would, if it's a park tree and it doesn't have an aesthetic value, then I would leave that line off. You could also
Yeah.
use replacement value. What is the ISA has a formula for if there's something about, like if you're being sued or somebody's suing a neighbor for cutting down the tree, there's a formula for replacement value. maybe you could use that. I would hate to see, you know, you're gonna look at it and say it has no aesthetic value,
Sure.
yeah.
No, that's a great point.
Yeah, because all these other things are so
Yeah,
positive.
yeah. So I would I would either qualify it and say if it were in front of a home and then put that value, or use a replacement value for that line.
Okay. Plus, I fundamentally disagree that there is zero aesthetic value in a park for a tree. That seems just silly and absurd. On the face of it, it's absurd that there's no
Yeah.
aesthetic
I'm
value
assuming that
for a tree in a
they're
park.
meaning that you can't place a
Yeah,
value.
it's
on-
undetermined, I think
Yeah.
that's the meaning,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
But the zero does come off as meaning that it holds no value, and we all know better than that. I would
There's
hope
also a
everybody-
structural value in iTree. I'm not really sure what that takes into consideration, but there's another, it might incorporate those other items that are up there, the stormwater and the carbon.
Yeah, the new iTree version is way more specific. It can be way more specific. It can, the feet from a structure and whether it's north, south, east, or west in a structure and that sort of thing
Yeah.
can get really fine tuned. It's kind of neat.
Well, I like it.
But yes.
I know Ted has been talking about doing this around town, so it would be good,
So if anyone knows of any
you know.
specimen trees out there, let me know. I'd really like to find a beech or something like that,
One on Central,
the tricolor beech.
yeah.
Mine in my backyard's much nicer.
Well,
It's a
There's
nice
one-
tree.
one
I know
on,
which one
uh,
you're talking about. I know exactly
well,
what
there's
you're
only
talking
so many. There's one by the car wash on Liberty in London.
about. Tricolor beech.
Yeah. You seen that thing like
Really?
stuffed in? Yeah. Swear to God. You would never think.
Huh.
It's
Whole
like
parking lot
tucked
there.
right up against like a brick wall. And
Oh.
it's like on the, right by
Yeah.
that drive, the car wash, like by Delco back there.
Yeah.
You're like, look at that.
Do you have to drive through to see it?
No,
Okay,
no, it's from the road,
okay.
but
You know what? The Canes, they put a beech. I don't know if it's tricolor or not, but they always have a beech tree up by their drive-through speaker. I haven't been through the new one yet.
Do they?
But it was on the plan that there was a beech in there.
I don't remember that.
So next time you go
I
through
mean-
Canes on the west side, or east side, I guess it is.
Huh.
I would
Look
think
for a
I've
beech, and I
seen
think
that
there might
thing.
be one in the
I bet
landscaping.
I bet it's already fried.
Oh,
If
I
it,
don't know.
if it is out there, but it's like nice and brown now.
Thought they had
Well,
irrigation, though.
assuming they might water it,
I
you know?
thought they had irrigation. Maybe
Yeah.
not.
Do they? I don't know.
Do we have, yeah, I don't think there, well, we have a street tree inventory that is listed by species. It's like, I think I have a searchable Excel file for that. I can see if there's any beech on the city streets. I would assume it would be somewhere in a public space that people can actually,
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna walk around and look at this
How is he
plaque.
going to, what's he gonna do with the plaque? I mean,
He wasn't really sure
Yeah.
yet whether or not it was gonna be something that goes probably about that size.
uh-huh,
That's gonna be on the ground in front of the tree.
Okay.
Or if, like I said, it's gonna be more of a, maybe down here at City Hall where people come in and see it, it'll be on the wall type thing.
yeah.
So, or at Mingo or somewhere like that.
You know,
Instead
when
of-
you go to Chadwick Arboretum, I mean, it's an arboretum, so it makes sense there, but they have them right there in front of the tree, and it's really nice with the,
I think where he's, and I'm speaking for Ted, and I don't know for sure this is the truth or not, but we're trying to get away from the monument trees and things
Right.
like that, where we're doing the Tree of Life down in Mingo, where it's just gonna be, okay, you bought a tree for a loved one, here's where it's at in the city. And it's on that Tree of Life thing. So I think we're trying to get away with putting little signs in front of trees
Mhm.
throughout the city.
yeah.
Has he got that off the ground? That,
He's still
Rob-
working on that.
okay,
Yeah. So you don't wanna have placards in front of trees necessarily. You wanna just have them proximal.
This, I think I think where we're at is this is kind of one of those things that would kind of make sense to be
Mhm.
out on the
Sure.
ground in front of.
Okay, I was
of
just
the
wanted
tree,
clarification.
so.
Alright,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I do too.
Alright. So we want traffic as well, potentially.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Something
a
that's
lot
not
of-
under a power line too.
Yes.
So it can stay there for a while. Alright, well, if he's looking for larger specimen trees that could turn into heritage tree kind of things, I'm happy to search through that list and pick some stuff out, and then, I don't know. I guess depending on where they're at, if it makes sense to use it or not. So, I know there's a bunch of really nice trees on Sandusky on the north side, but, you know. I'm happy to sort through that list. I mean, it's easy enough to do. Sort an Excel file, pick out some nice things. Do you want me to email those to Ted, or just to, I guess I could.
To me, would probably be
To you?
best, yeah.
Okay. And then I need to remake our email list, or maybe I'll just pick the list that you generate for the Shade Tree Commission. Does that agenda list go out to all the council people too, though?
Usually separate,
Okay.
but I can send you,
Just send it to her and she'll let her distribute it.
Okay. Do you mind doing that?
absolutely not.
In all the spare time you have.
All right.
No, that's absolutely fine, but I can also send an updated, list with staff and stuff too, if you wanna.
That'd be good to have.
Cool. All right, I'll do that.
Good with that?
Yep. Another handout.
This is the longest
Wow.
staff comments.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
Rein it in.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Tell
that
them,
all
move
right?
along,
Come on,
move
Doug,
along.
wrap it up. Yeah, I
Sir?
think you're doing great.
I like this though, I
I do
do, I think
too.
this is a great idea.
What you have
There we go.
for you now is the tree fund amount that we said that we keep you apprised of, so that you can see where we're at dollar-wise with what's in the tree fund.
Thank you.
So that 105,437 is what will be in the tree fund after we plant our trees and pay for our trees that we have
Okay.
right now.
How are we doing? This should probably be back. I'm sorry. Did it? How are we doing pruning at this point? Is there anything on here that covers that, or are you planning pruning? I guess with this fiscal calendar.
Yes. But we're still doing our pruning in-house. We haven't contracted anything out yet.
Okay. And so that's covered. with
This year
park
we
funds,
are,
right?
yeah, what Ted is working on the urban forest plan. And when that comes out, we'll have more of a clear picture of what we want to try to accomplish with in-house and contracting out things.
Okay.
So right now, we are using our funds for our contracted services to remove dangerous trees and hazardous trees. I guess that's the same thing, dangerous and hazardous
Hmm.
trees.
Does anybody have any questions on the tree fund account snapshot? Okay. Doug, do you have any more staff comments to,
That's enough for tonight, that's all I have.
so you do, but you'll save them for us? Okay. All right.
Well, I have one comment about this.
Okay.
And it just seemed, from the development plans we've seen and the number of trees that are being taken out, the year-to-date receipts just feel a little low. That's just my only comment on that. But, that relies on my memory too, so that's not the best thing either, so.
Is there a lag between when we look at the plan and there's X's through trees and then when the money's actually received?
I can't answer that
Yeah,
question. I
yeah.
don't have that answer.
I'm assuming yes, that's probably an obvious yes. So that might explain some.
Right,
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
I don't know at what point they actually have to give the money.
I don't know, but anyway. It doesn't look like there's any emergency
Yeah.
as far as the tree fund balance being
Yeah.
Yeah.
too low to be able to replace trees, so that's good.
All right, we'll move on to member comments.
Well, yeah, I have a couple of things, but ladies first.
My only comment was, I do feel like every time we have a meeting, we discuss our lack of the next meeting and the break, and I feel like this is our first full year of going month to month. And I just wanna make sure that maybe once we have an email channel open that we're talking about, because I know for one, if I wanna send something out or if I have a question, it's usually yesterday, the day before our meeting, and I go, oh no. I feel like I'm at a loss as to how to get a hold of everybody if I had a thought, but I feel like maybe now's the time to discuss, is that working for us, or is the email chain gonna be more helpful for the future? I don't wanna open a can of worms, it's just a thought.
Well, I did get, Becky, I got your email, I saw it, and if I didn't reply, I apologize.
That's right.
That's on me,
I'm not.
for not responding, but I didn't have any problem with what you had said. I mean, it was all
Yeah.
good and timely information, so, I mean, email works for me, that's my comment.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with email, I just felt like we've been doing this for a year, and I just thought maybe it was time we discuss it if we're not gonna have another
Yeah.
meeting before the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Is-
personally, I would feel that monthly meetings are more conducive to keeping the communication flow going. Susan raised a good point last time we discussed the frequency of our meetings. She mentioned, like camaraderie, so, I wouldn't mind, going back to monthly meetings. But, I may be an outlier in that respect.
My main concern with every other month is that come spring, when it gets busy and we have a number of events to plan, and all of a sudden, and we're not meeting the month before, are we prepared? And it seemed this year that there was more of a scramble.
There was, because our events all happen in April and we had a meeting in March.
Right,
And I think that was,
yeah.
we could do something like a hybrid. Out of the 12 months, we could meet 9 times. We could take December off, we could take either July or August off. And I don't know. I'd have to sort of look at our calendar, but there could be a happy medium, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
I think you're right. It seems like we need to meet February, March, April in order to be able to meet our April
Yeah.
goals for our events.
Let me look at the calendar.
And maybe the rest of the time we could go to every other month, or, I don't know how that jives with everybody else.
I mean, we have the date available at this point, that if you wanted to host an extra meeting during that time, but if you're thinking you wanna put it on a schedule, I'll have to present that to the mayor and to
Sure.
council, so. Of your, you know.
So to reiterate what I think, we're not gonna meet in November. We're gonna try to do the flyer thing by mail.
By email.
So the next time we meet, it will be in January, correct?
And
Okay.
then we'll meet again in,
Not until March if we
March.
do it the way we're
Yeah.
supposed to. But does that leave us enough time to plan for April, for all the events in April?
well, we have the 2 or 3 events in April, and then we have First Friday in May,
Right.
which
And
is.
we've got June. Isn't that when?
Yeah, the watershed.
The Watershed Festival is.
I would be okay meeting personally January and February and March.
Me too.
So if, Elaine, if we all need to, if we need to agree and then present it, to see if it could get approved for us to meet, or, I mean, I don't want.
I guess it's just one extra meeting in February, right, is what we're saying.
It feels like that might be
Actually,
it.
February should be your normal meeting. January, we've typically met. I think you were gonna meet because you wouldn't be meeting in December.
And November.
Well, November, we normally wouldn't be meeting.
Yeah.
So it should be December, February, April.
So if we're not gonna meet in December, so substituting January for that and then just adding February as an extra meeting work?
I'm confused.
Well, we didn't meet this year in January.
No, we did in February.
We,
We did in
if there's
February.
non-agenda items, they usually don't
Yeah.
hold a
Right.
meeting. So I'd have to look back and see, was something canceled or was it discussed to have it? I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Well, why not?
And I think that's partially why we started moving to the every other month, is because we were canceling more meetings because of that lack of agenda items.
I know we met in February, and then in March, there was the city greenhouse.
And then it was April and we were already into our month of activities.
So I think your February, April, June, August, October, in December typically we don't meet.
So that's 5 instead of 6, right?
It's 5, and then we've left the date open that if you needed to have an extra meeting.
So if we felt in February we needed to have an extra meeting in March, we could just do it? We could have it?
Well, I need notice.
Right.
Right. I
But we could decide potentially in the February meeting that we need another one in March,
Mhm.
is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that mean we're not having a January meeting? Now I'm confused.
See you guys in February.
So we're gonna go from October until February with no meeting?
I mean, that's up to you guys. We can have a December meeting. It's Christmas Eve, so I'd say that's not gonna
No,
work.
that's not gonna
We
work.
can look at a different date if we need one
Yeah,
in December.
that's not gonna work. I just,
No, but I mean, there are other dates in December. We don't.
we could move it up.
We
in the
could
month.
move it up. I don't know if there'll be items to discuss in December, but we can hold a January meeting if you prefer as a makeup
Let's do
for the
that.
December.
I agree, I think we
It's,
should.
I mean, it's really up to Doug. It's his. I'm here.
It's up to me.
Well,
Yes,
you're-
tell us what you
You're
think.
the arborist, so I mean.
Move December to January and February's the next.
Well, if we
meeting.
don't have plans to approve, there's not
Right.
any reason to meet in January.
Have we not met before when there are no plans?
No,
Unless, of course, it's the March or April meeting that we have to have to plan for Arbor Day stuff. I mean,
Yeah, and unless you
Regardless of
have,
plans.
you have something that you need to move forward with or plan, like David was saying.
Okay. I guess I'm feeling torn. I'm feeling like, okay, we're meet to go over the plans, yes, but then we're changing that we're meeting we've changed to meet every other month and focus more on community outreach, on our off months or what we do, but then I don't, other than we need to meet outside of this, official meeting to do our our other outreach stuff. That's where I'm trying to put cause I wanna make sure we're doing what's right, or and so that we could get things done.
Can we make January as a makeup meeting and have that be, if there's no plans to discuss, we can discuss outreach and what we wanna do for the following year, for that year, for 2020.
I mean, that works for me. I just wanna make sure we have enough time to, all of these special projects we're doing, that we have time to come together and do them or plan them. And maybe I'm making it to be a larger event than it should be. We could just meet at someone's house and do it.
Are we,
Is that
we
kosher?
have had subcommittee meetings in the
Yeah.
past that aren't part of a meeting. But I think if we have a quorum, I think we have to have it here, right? Don't we?
As long as you're not voting on anything, you're not like city council where you're, making laws, making ordinances, so.
Okay, so we're not as restricted as I'm thinking we are. Is what you're
So we
saying.
could get
Okay.
together
You can-
informally and discuss what we wanted,
Correct, you just.
what outreach we want for 2020.
And then
Oh,
bring
yeah,
it
so
to a
like in
formal meeting.
January, we just have like a potluck or something.
Yeah. And
I
then
mean,
we-
like, I mean, if it's more informed, there aren't, plans or whatever, it could just be, I don't have a ton of perspective, obviously,
Well,
because it's my
that's what
first
I'm
year,
try-
so I don't know
I'm trying
how
to get, I'm
crazy, or
trying-
like what all,
How
needs
can
to
we do
happen
it?
or whatever,
I
so
do
I don't
that.
have too
I
much of
can
an opinion
confirm
on
with
this.
the city attorney, but from my understanding, as long as you're not making any.
As long as
motion-
you don't, I mean, according to Robert's Rules of Orders,
Sure.
which is what we are, adhering to, and that's the gold standard. You're free to meet, but you cannot conduct business. You cannot make decisions, official decisions. Those can only be made in public hearings when it's, televised and all that stuff. But you can certainly meet and socialize and have a potluck and
And
stuff.
discuss what we wanna do and then present it in February as these are the things that we wanna do and have a vote on them.
Yes, for
So that works.
voting purposes, it needs to be official and
Right,
legit and
so
above,
that would work.
above the board, yes.
So January can be an unofficial potluck discussion group. And February can be.
Well, like a
to present.
brainstorming kind of,
Right,
right, I
and
mean-
February can be when we bring them to the table to vote on them. Publicly. Officially.
I like it. It works for me.
Do we have to vote on that?
No, I may think you can communicate through email on that,
Cool. Okay.
to set your date and place.
Okay.
And location and such. Okay.
All right, and then the fourth Tuesday in April is before Arbor Day. So if we do February, April, we are officially
Okay.
before Arbor Day.
Okay.
The
that's
Tuesday
good.
would be the 23rd.
Yeah.
Wait, no, sorry, I'm on the wrong year. I gotta
You're in
go
the
up a
wrong
year.
year?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No,
Me
1, 2,
too.
3. No, it would be after. Sorry, my bad. Missed it by a day.
Well, it still gives us February and March that we can,
Well, February's an official meeting,
Yeah.
and
March can be an added meeting.
if we knew the night of the February meeting. Okay. Okay.
Cool.
Anybody else have member comments?
Please no.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. Maybe my time has come. Okay, number one, We had an interesting city council meeting the last time. I'm quoting something from This Week Delaware News, you know, the weekly freebie paper that people get. Councilwoman Lisa Keller, you know, is being quoted in that paper, dated October 13th. She has been talking a lot about the Building Industry Association, the BIA, you know, which we also have. The Shade Tree Commission also has a long history, you know, with the BIA. So I'm quoting Lisa Keller here. I've held the line, she says, against requests from the Building Industry Association. I've held the line against our tree preservation requirements less stringent. You know, BIA has requested, you know, that, you know, our tree replacement requirements, installation requirements be less stringent, you know, and she is on record of, you know, holding the line against such requests. Because trees cost money for the BIA, and they are interested in reducing them rather than enhancing our tree canopy. So it is, my point here is, it is good to know that the Shade Tree Commission has a friend and an ally in Councilwoman Lisa Keller. Not every council member, you know, shares that view. Number two, I participated in the watershed forum that took place on the Ohio Wesleyan campus. Many interesting, you know, presentations were featured. Among them, Charles Flower from the Forest Service gave a presentation on the Dutch elm disease and the history, you know, and the research that is being conducted there. So that was interesting. Pass these around. These are freebies we received at that watershed forum. This is a brochure from the ODNR, the Trees of Ohio, a field guide, an illustrated field guide to all the Ohio trees. So there are enough copies for everyone.
Nice.
Hey, thank you.
I thought of the Shade Tree Commission when I saw those brochures, of course. So that's all. You can peruse them on your own. It's a nice little handy dandy pocket book that you can maybe take along on your excursions.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you, Tom. All right.
Is that it for member comments? Okay. Plan reviews.
Let's do
Let's
it.
do it. Let's load up. Where are my glasses this time? This is really nice because it's like the North American Guide or it's laid out the same. And it's nice and it's localized. Yeah, I love it. I take that on my consultations.
Oh, hey Doug.
Yes.
While you're unraveling things, I know there were other places that you would get trees from time to time other than Acorn. Do you have anything on the top of your head you're willing to share?
Lake County,
Mm-hmm. Yes, you did.
The formal name, Lake County Nursery.
Lake County Nursery,
Okay, thank you.
and Wade Gatton.
We're good. We can manage.
All right, thanks.
I believe last time we met, the Ohio Wesleyan Village Student Housing was more or less an informational, was the tree survey that was done, they had removed the trees. So this is the plan for their planting back on that. We had looked at these, this is what's going to be going in around the existing buildings that are going to be renovated.
right now, this is where all the trees were, right?
Yes.
Right here at the moment.
It does look a little bare.
Okay.
But, no, yeah. Then move.
Wow, the sea green junipers. What are those called? Well, it is, junipers.
The little shrubs, little circles, wherever those are.
Looks groups
Well,
of them.
most of them are
Also,
here.
they're all right there.
Yeah, here's some.
They're tucked in underneath.
Oh.
Underneath the camp. It's not the best grass there.
So that dorm that's there is coming down, but this one is being renovated?
This
There's
building
nothing
Oh,
here. That was
oh,
the
that's,
football-
I'm thinking
that
of
was the
that one,
marching band
yeah,
practice field.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I was looking for Bashford.
But eventually Bashwood and Townsend will both come down. They are.
Right here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's phase two then, yeah.
Yeah,
We started with two
yeah, new
big
ones.
houses and a parking lot and then go to.
And so when those come down and take all those trees out.
Probably happy, yeah.
I think the plan is that they're saving these
Okay.
right now.
If they can.
If they
That
can.
would be nice.
$60 million project. Now, the campus is an arboretum, thank goodness. There are, plaques and, it's a nice collection of trees.
It is.
And they will fully intend to keep it as an arboretum, not a.
Well, that's good.
This is the landscape planning that's going around the new buildings.
So happy imagination. Looks like a nice season's coming. Yeah. You guys think you're seeing more of those oak leaf hydrangeas and stuff like that? Used to be a handful of them, now it's 64 of them.
So it's a street, so we're not,
I mean, there's
they're not
more
even
oak leaf
touching these street trees, it looks like they're
hydrangeas
open, these,
Lilacs.
whatever's there is there.
That's
Yes.
more
Okay.
than by Burnham's. Maybe it's all shady there?
Well, if your plant is surrounded on three sides by the building,
Mhm.
so this is south and west, so it will be very shady.
Can you guys read those down?
Fire retention areas.
Pretty much, yeah.
I know, it's a skill.
It's
It's
it
skill I
comes in
know,
handy.
yes.
When you're spying.
I remember sitting across the front professor's desk trying to read what they had written when they were talking.
And those are in the parking lot.
It's a nice layout, look at that, nice little, that looks good. See, that's a nice graphic for mulch.
Yeah, I mean, something like that where you have just a nice.
Take your scissors and just cut that
Yeah,
out.
if
It's
I-
easy.
well, if I remember right,
Flair concept.
we
right?
added that
I just like
profile
those
picture
nice
to
ones
all the
that
plans
just on our planting.
a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so so all the developers get that instruction, right, that was the
Okay.
purpose for that.
You know, professional.
That's a good idea.
So-
One thing is they're not requiring them to do is stake the trees.
Right.
That's a change in philosophy going on right now.
Do you agree with that or not?
Whether or not stakes help a tree or not.
We got a guy
Well,
swearing in
I think it
his shop
depends on
there
the
again
s-
today, cause we didn't stake his tree, he said, yeah, we don't stake the trees, so why didn't you tell me? It's not like, it's like, oh, I mean, we're like, what?
Hmm.
You like walked in the dock and you said, oh,
You didn't test my urine. Yeah, we don't do that for this. Well, why would you? We're like,
Yeah, it doesn't, what?
I say not staking is fine until it's apparent that they need stake.
yeah, and that's
It's
what
sort
we
of
said.
the,
That's my
but the problem is
philosophy.
that
Put it
once they
in.
need
If it's
stakes,
sideways next
recovering
year,
that
yeah,
might be
let's
kinda
put
tricky.
that.
Right?
Depends on how well,
Cool.
yeah, I mean, normally, you know, one
But you can-
season
you
you're
can
gonna
usually-
see like
yeah, in a season you
oh.
can tell if it needs stake
Right.
or not.
Right, but if it, within a year, you've
Are we
got.
approved, like,
I'm
if
not
it's
sure
with
that
the
this is
B&B,
private,
you're
I'm not
pretty
sure there's an
in.
approval.
Does
Then you
it?
have to-
Yeah, do we have to
Is there
approve this?
approval
Maybe
for
not.
this?
Yes.
Oh, there is,
Recover
okay.
from that.
That-
So what's your, you know,
Oh,
staking
first
versus not?
official signature.
As-
No, I had to fill it in for you
As
once.
submitted, yes.
And where do you sign?
And that was
Anywhere?
OWU?
Under it.
Oh,
Now it's printed.
Well, I had to make it legible. I'm so glad I made it to this meeting.
from
So am I.
the staking that does get done, it's not sufficient. One stake, holding up a tree is not sufficient. If you're gonna stake the trees, then stake them right, parallel stake the tree. But it's not something, I mean, I think that's above and beyond. If the tree starts leaning, like you said, then, okay, it's time to do something with it.
Isn't there research though on like staking the tree just weakens the tree?
I mean, that's what it,
Yeah.
right.
Like, so when you-
It doesn't allow the roots to, like,
Do what it's supposed to do? Yeah.
This is,
Hey, look at that nice picture.
a lot of information on here.
Wow.
We already had looked at the, trees that they were removing from this. This is the Dr. Green's, the dental office on Hall Drive. They're expanding their parking lot area and I think some building renovations. Trying to get the plan.
As soon as, yeah, it's right there on that little.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
They really want this approved, look at all my pictures.
And now I know. So is this the removable?
This is the trees they're going to remove. And you had already looked at this. All right. Where's the plan?
Are they just expanding their building and need?
Maybe?
Why do they need so much more parking?
They don't have a lot
They-
of parking.
Don't
There's
they?
a lot of cars that park on Hall Drive too,
Oh, okay.
when they're there.
Yeah, it's
Huh.
a very small parking lot.
So I assume these are pines of some sort.
Existing clients.
Well, I guess if they're not proposing it, elevation.
So they're just adding a parking lot? They're not changing anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're not changing any curb, if the landscaping is sufficient for the curb frontage that they already have, they don't need to put any more landscaping in the interior.
I'm just wondering, where's it gonna go?
Except for,
Where's the spring not gonna go?
These are-
Well,
This is the existing building here.
and the existing parking lot is right here, isn't it?
I think there was some in front too.
Wait a minute, I'm backwards.
This is
This
the
hall.
Yeah, so you
Where's
pull
23?
in that way.
Here.
Oh,
Over
okay,
here.
sorry.
Here's Chipotle.
Okay, yeah, thank
You
you.
know
So,
where
right,
it is.
if we can just go off of
Yeah, there's
Chipotle,
Chipotle, okay.
so some wooded area, right, right in
Yeah.
there, before you get to the parking lot for the hotel. I don't really, is the parking lot just that now? I don't really remember.
It's very small, I know
Yeah.
that. But.
This is the existing overlay, I'm
Thank you.
sorry. And this would be the new tree plantings. to replace the ones that they're taking down. So that's the list of trees.
This is nice visual.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it only took me 20 minutes to find it.
Yeah, we would have had 20 minutes ago.
Okay, got out of here.
Old fashioned, these kids starting to get,
Don't see that in
Yeah.
I was
Very
just
many.
gonna say that.
plantings.
Oh,
why
we're
not?
going
Do
that
they not
big.
do well in a container or what? Like,
They
why
just, we
don't
had some
people
in the front of
just-
our neighborhood to replace some things.
We have
and
some in containers right now.
I'm
Never
interested
seen
to
a
see what they
fridge.
look like next spring. They didn't
They didn't do this
do
one.
great. They didn't really have a good full canopy this year, so hopefully they'll acclimate and come back out. I don't remember if they were B&Bs or they're containers. They're pretty big, so they're probably B&Bs. I would think Kentucky coffee sheep would work every bit as well as a locust, but
And look
I
much
guess we'll see.
cooler in the winter.
And, yeah, I was gonna say, it'd be
Yeah.
a lot more interesting.
A lot more interesting to look at. Huh, okay.
Yeah, we don't have one a street tree because of racemes and how big the pods are, but
And then that's their. planting.
better, I can.
Now you got it, don't you?
Yeah, but reading it, not really good at reading.
And sometimes you gotta move around the table, so you get a better view if it doesn't work for you.
It's hard to do it upside down, sideways.
Pretty basic cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Good.
Oxford, Baylor, Spirea.
All the easy ones.
Go with what works.
Easy as light bulb.
Are we still on green?
But
Yeah.
they did give us.
Yes.
Still on green?
I don't know, there's like 87 pages, what more do we have to do?
It's a-
Are these in any, are they?
Well, yeah, they're numbered at the
That's
bottom,
okay,
right?
you can just-
One and one.
I'll figure it out.
I didn't think it'd be that big.
yeah.
Alright,
So which one, does one need to be stamped?
Yeah, just stamp
Yeah.
this one. No, you can just stamp, you can just stamp this one. It's the cover page.
That's quite
It's
the.
yeah, I'm impressed.
Whoever did their,
Stamp it.
Is that
Approved is submitted. And Coffin's Crossing. We looked at this last time. I believe we looked at this section and approved this. This was the retail development. And then there were some questions on the apartment complex part of it. We did not look at that.
There had been some developer changes in terms of the kinds of buildings. How did that turn
I
out?
don't know what the latest status is of those apartment complexes. Last I heard, it was still in the works.
Okay.
Is this off of Stratford?
Yeah.
Stratford,
Okay.
it's between
Meeker Way,
Meeker
okay.
is right here.
Either way, and
So these are the proposed buildings, retail development buildings. That we only looked at the one. I think it was on the other side here. So we have these three here and then the apartment areas.
Didn't we change a few, make suggestions on a few of the buildings in the first section, in the first ones we just looked at? I was just curious whether we would take those suggestions or not. Yeah, I just was curious whether we would take.
I don't
those
think so,
suggestions or-
because these are all pretty much,
I think there was one where they were putting in Little Henrys. I do kinda remember talking about Little Henry idea and saying that I have somebody like doing nothing.
were you
like
here
little-
at the last meeting? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, she was
Going
there.
on between you two.
Wait till you see the next one.
Great.
Bark
ST.
Hickory,
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah, I remember that around
Yeah,
here.
I like the check mark. That's a
Mhm.
nice, that's a good.
So now we saw it as a tree. To give back to wildlife.
Eastern White Pines. So you're gonna put white pines here? Wait, where's the ST? Where's the white pines going? I was trying to figure out what all these things were.
Yeah.
I was looking for
I think it
codes
stands for
somewhere.
street.
Yeah, that sounds for street, but
So
where's the?
white pines?
So what are
There's only
these?
16 of them, so.
So they're
my guess
probably
is
over
those
here.
around
Okay, those are over here.
Yeah.
So what are these guys? I'm trying to find out what they
Those
are.
are probably the elms.
Shade tree,
No,
D-
it's small.
PR deciduous straight tree. No, it's these. So those are,
I'm just gonna shade
The
them up
bottom
and
one.
choose what they want.
What is it?
That's what we're trying to figure out. Well, there's the.
It wouldn't be a viburnum, would it?
no.
They don't
They're
distinguish
viburnum, yeah.
between
Mhm.
anything.
I mean, there's a 108 viburnum.
Yeah, and I see what he's saying.
Oh, I see VI,
There's
yeah.
SAS, oh, that's the shrubs.
Yeah,
I was
those are
trying to
the
follow
shrubs.
the lines to see if they.
Yeah, and you're right, it just says shade tree, deciduous shade tree.
No, there's different flavors.
I'm not sure what they
So it looks like they just are looking for the extra plantings that are on this drawing, my drawing actually. This is the mound and around the pond areas.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So this is a different key for those, is what you're saying.
Maybe.
So, oh, yep.
Oh, yeah.
Tilia, but these aren't the same plants.
No, they're not.
This is the apartment complex
Okay.
plan.
So we just don't know what they're actually planting, where they're going.
On the commercial development. it doesn't-
Right.
It's not obvious.
And we can say that on your response thing, we think.
We need to be more specific. Cause this one, they're specific.
Are we just missing it?
It's just
That's
not
what
on
we
here.
had.
You just need, I think I agree with, like, I think you do.
Had a
say,
couple
like,
elms on that list,
Mhm.
Morton and Commendation. I've never heard of Commendation.
I used to have a key for all of those. I printed out for this, but I did not bring it. People are gonna start putting them in all the time. There's an arborist that used to be at Bowling Green, he had a list, he had a publication about that and was evaluating them in Bowling Green.
Any issues?
No,
I don't have
I
any
just don't like
issues.
the last one where you don't have the, actually,
Where the,
what's going in
Where
there.
the big
What
trees
is
are,
that?
yeah.
What is that tree there?
Probably a lot more elms.
So is this private, is any of this public right away that we're looking at?
This, on the last one, along Stratford Road was public.
But that was the tight buffer with all the ornamentals, right?
Right.
Right.
Okay, but then the internal with the parking lots and are the streets,
The streets are not, they're all private.
they're all private?
Yeah,
Okay, so if those trees die, it's on them.
that's right. And this is the plantings around each of the apartments, buildings.
I'm not the installer. Look at the, like, my brain hurts trying to figure that out.
I'm sure that's all beyond me anyway.
Planting this every year. The Fothergill is interesting. Look at this. How many of those? Not too bad, I guess.
Well, if I ever find that publication, I'll send it out to everybody.
Someday.
It has the list, if folks are gonna start planting all of
Like
these
the
other
elms?
That's just.
elms
more on the side.
and
Yeah,
should
More on the side.
probably
the clubhouse plan.
More of what we just saw.
Yep.
Okay.
Look, Catman. Looks so good with those knockout roses. Do we say approve, but we'd like them to note about the street trees, or if we're not
I'd
gonna?
like to note the parking lot trees.
Okay. You got that,
Plan.
Elaine? I'm sorry.
Plan accepted, but would like information
Always
on parking
write it
lot
after my
trees.
name.
Okay. Okay.
On the commercial side is where they didn't list anything.
And then we say, please note, specific street trees.
Request to know, or request to.
Are you doing the fairgrounds?
No, next would be fairgrounds.
No, I mean, you're on, that's what I mean.
No, that's,
You just did Coglin's Crossing.
Yeah.
Okay. But now you're on fairgrounds. Okay.
I was just thinking through this thing.
On the commercial part. There's no spell check on handwriting, you know that, right? Yeah.
Writing.
They get the general idea of
The
what
fact
you're
that you
doing.
can read my signature, I feel
The fairgrounds, we had previously approved their plantings they had done originally. They came back and added plant material and trees. The other page is the key.
We don't even see the trees there, we just saw. Yeah.
Adirondack sugar maple, Norway spruce, serviceberry, locally Chinese dogwood, low growth sumac, and cranberry bush, leaf traps, through and through.
Yep. Just straight serviceberry? Can you buy those? I thought they were all a fancy cultivar or something.
I thought Adirondack was a crab apple.
And a sugar maple, I didn't know, I thought that, yeah, I better start brushing up on my varieties. Is there, okay,
For
are there
sugar maple.
quantities? I don't see quantity on the plant list.
Well, I guess there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Oh.
10 maybe?
Well,
Mhm.
I just wondered.
I assume that's what those are, right?
If I had to guess, I'd say these are your sugar maples.
Yeah.
These are your serviceberry. 3, 6, 8 of them.
Are these the spruce here? That's really little.
That's your spruce.
What's the scale on that? It's like, it looks like it's every.
Looks like they're about 15 feet apart. Just at a glance.
Maybe that's so they can thin them out.
After somebody sneaks over there and cuts them for Christmas trees, they'll still have some left.
I think it's a nice, good variety, I mean, for, you've got nice fall color, you've got some flowers in there.
Mhm.
I think it's nice. I'm trying to, cranberry, where's the cranberry? Where's the sumac? I don't know, the sumac and the viburnum, here we go, let's see. Nice gooseneck. Maybe that, in the cover, there's the cassia. No, really the.
She said Adirondack sugar maple, it's just seed lot. Okay.
that's probably the
You think
sumac.
that's not-
Sumac, I bet that's.
Yeah, that's gotta be a
sumac.
typo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't see the sumac anywhere.
Yeah, that's gotta be.
Yeah, that cannot be
Space or
sumac.
something.
Yeah, and then what else were we looking at? Viburnum?
Viburnum.
Viburnum, okay, okay, yeah, that's,
They was made a mistake.
yeah, okay. We done
Or
with this
their-
one?
was that it?
Do we need to make note that that's incorrect?
I'd circle it
Because
as a
it's,
question mark.
I mean, it's, there's
yeah.
not a lot of detail.
Just circle it
Yeah,
as
I
a question
would.
mark.
Okay. Was this top of the page or?
Desktop is.
I was just at the fair. I didn't pay attention a lot to the species, but
They tore down this building, the existing building, so.
so having some shade there would be kind of nice.
They took it, how many trees they take out?
Not very many.
Doug, approve
Approved.
with,
Question as to the number of sugar maples.
Or if they meant this week's sumac.
Instead of sugar maple. It's listed as sugar maple, but there's 44 of them all planted along the building.
It doesn't make any sense.
I think someone just did a typo.
I would say just confirm species and amounts.
Where's this now?
Innovation Center,
So where's this now?
this is
It's just-
Where is all that
It's
innovation?
about
42.
It's on London Road.
No, that's
No,
Pizzacco's
that's
address.
I don't
It's
know.
out 42
South.
south, yeah.
So.
Like the airport, 42.
Oh,
Innovation
okay,
Court.
Okay, yeah.
I drive up all the time, I don't know what it is, but.
Oh.
Say Acer Rupert over? I thought that was a sugar maple or a.
It's
Well,
around
it might be a-
Boys Road.
I thought it was like
hybrid
a.
or something, but-
Autumn
Bless
Blaze
you.
is for beginning on.
excuse me,
You all right over there?
I'm trying, it's the season.
It is.
So 9 lindens, 5 October glories, 4 honey locusts, 18 autumn blaze maples, which I
That's
assume
a lot.
are these that are in their parking lots.
They're all gonna get sun scald and die if they're in a parking lot. That's my guess, yeah. Maybe I might be wrong about that, but.
Well, is this another building?
Yeah, like what, is this a building?
This is
or
just a
that-
field, this is the planting detail of the office. So, this is done really badly, but flip it upside down, this is this.
Oh, is
okay.
this is plan and this is
What?
elevation?
No. Take this and flip it around this way, that's these entrances right here, so this is what,
Well,
It's
This
going
is
to
a
be-
detail of the.
this area here, this is the detail of these areas.
Gotcha.
One question that I have, we are right next to the airport. How big do some of these trees get really big on the road?
Norway's gonna get pretty big. Norway's gonna be 50 foot. They don't know.
Right. Well, I don't know, I've seen some sun scald on those, and if they're right next to the parking lot,
And building?
I would, well,
Well, I don't have.
a building I'm not so
regulations
concerned
based-
about, but,
This is north.
Oh.
There is a scale in the north arrow, so we're good. How tall is the building? It's 1 story? What?
Well, typical
Figure it
like a
out.
warehouse,
So one-
looks more like 2 stories to me.
Oh.
That's fair enough.
But there are elevation limits, imposed by the FAA next to it.
Because
So
of your-
I wonder if these trees will get bigger than the buildings.
probably, so if that's north, they get south, they're gonna get shaded by the building, so they'll probably be mostly.
Well, are these Norway's? I mean, these are definitely gonna be Much larger than the building eventually. But. I don't.
Until the future.
Until
They have to cut them down
20,
because they're
40
too big.
I would like to
Well,
say
do they
that,
have to
I would
run
like to
that
see the
by
autumn
being
ways
near the
mixed up a
airport?
little
Do
bit
they
at
have to
least, but.
comply with other, I mean, is there somebody else that
I don't know
that
that
would
it's
have to be
enough of a
approved
concern to say.
by?
Well, the building is
other than
all-
us? Cause I certainly do not know enough about FAA
I'm not sure what
regulations to
the
say yes or
trees, but
no
the
on
buildings
that.
have to be approved by
Right.
the FAA. And there are guidelines that must be followed, but I'm not sure about the trees.
I would just say approved, as long as complies with FAA regulations.
Yeah,
Tree
with
height.
the disclaimer, like.
Yeah. Above the tree heights.
I don't know.
Who's gonna look at that?
Planes going back.
Wouldn't
The
this?
airport.
I was gonna say, but I know, wouldn't the architect have dealt with that?
That's what I say, is someone else
Not
liable
really.
for it? Like, I don't wanna.
It's not ours.
50
Yeah.
years, somebody will hold us liable for making a wrong decision.
I'm out.
I'm going back to my old signature for
They're
this.
gonna come get you in your old
The
age.
illegible one.
Get you.
Okay, so, do I need to write on here, we're worried about what the FCC comes about?
FAA.
FAA. I'm
Kind of
sorry.
aviation.
You know what my main concern is.
As long as the tree height doesn't exceed, as long as the
Maybe the
height
trees are there to
doesn't
protect the
exceed
building, how about that?
their
Guidelines.
guidelines.
It could be that it's far enough away from the airport, it's not an issue.
Yeah, I mean, there's no.
And I flew with my mother-in-law into our cabin in Michigan.
That's it.
And it was lined on
That's the
three
last
sides
one.
by trees.
We're done.
And I remember every time we were taking off the trees, and I think, here. So I can't lie.
The little crop dusters.
Yep, I was always sure we were not gonna clear those trees before it ran out of runway.
Where
It was a
was
grass
that?
runway. We have a cabin in the upper Peninsula, Michigan.
You had a broken one in there.
Whose pen was this? Was this
That's fine.
yours? Thank you.
Yep, we just need a adjournment.
A motion.
I move we adjourn
A second.
at 8:24.
So look for an email